how your striving is blocking God's miracles in your business. All right, y'all, the neuroscience of striving. And because I am a trauma specialist, I can speak on this all day long, but I'm only going to give you this much. Here we go. The neuroscience of striving is this, that when you are operating from survival mode, your sympathetic nervous system is activated. And here's what happens. Cortisol floods your system physiologically as well as, even mentally and emotionally. Your prefrontal cortex shuts down. Why does it do that? Because when you are in frustration, pushing mode, which is usually driven by anxiety and fear, your prefrontal cortex shuts down because you're actually perceiving your business as a threat and you're not perceiving it as this wonderful thing that God gave you to bless your life. And your decision making is impaired and in some cases completely obliterated. The fight or flight response in you is activated, and then unfortunately it stays activated almost all day long based on how you are operating. And then what happens? There's no space for creativity, no space for true intuition, and there's no space for spiritual sensitivity to the voice of the Holy Spirit to lead and guide you by His Spirit in everything that you say and do in your business. You guys, when this happens, you cannot lead your business except but by the systems of this world. God didn't give you a business plan, a business vision, a business mission from Him that's supposed to be a kingdom organization so that you could run it by the systems of this world. All right, listen up close to this one. When you are operating from rest, your parasympathetic nervous system and your vagal nerve is activated. So what does that look like? All right, that looks like your clear thinking returns because your prefrontal cortex has no longer shut down, okay? Then when that happens, your creativity flows. Your spiritual sensitivity is heightened. You can actually hear God clearly. And for some of you, you'll be able to hear Him for the very first time in your life in relation to your business. Y'all, the problem is you cannot experience supernatural breakthrough when your nervous system is in survival mode. It won't happen. The supernatural flow state. What happens when you operate and build from a place of rest? Decisions are made from clarity, not from confusion. Doors begin to open for you unexpectedly, and favor shows up supernaturally in your life, in your business. Divine connections happen that you didn't even have to try to make happen, and you couldn't have planned them. Because I'm going to give you some examples of trust-based building in the Bible. But what I want you to understand is that the breakthrough feels nearly effortless. So we have the story of Abraham waiting for Isaac. Now, what happened was Abraham first birthed an Ishmael. And why did that happen? Because he was trying to make it happen instead of letting God make it happen. But when he finally surrendered the timeline to God, Isaac showed up effortless, all right? So he rested in God's timing. Moses at the Red Sea, he said, "Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." So not only did Moses have to stand still and know in his heart that God has got his back, but the entire nation of Israel had to do so as well. And what happened? God came in and He completely obliterated the entire Egyptian army. And then we have David before he fights Goliath. David, now I'm not saying that David didn't feel a little bit anxious inside, but David operated from a confident trust in God. He operated from resting in the goodness of God, not striving from anxiety. All right, now I want to give you some practical steps and a little bit of homework. So here we go. I want you to recognize when you are striving in your business. Physical cues could be a tight chest, racing thoughts. You can't stop. Like, you have to keep working. Like, you put in 10, 12, 14 hour days. Y'all, I used to operate my business like that like 20 years ago. I haven't done that in I don't know how long. And there's no way I would ever go back to that method ever again. All right, number 2, you have to practice release. Now, I'm not saying this is the whole thing. Like, I do coaching with entrepreneurs to help them learn how to operate through all of these different systems. But practicing a release, like literally opening up your hands and releasing control to God. But of course, you have to say that and do that from an internal posture of saying, you know what, God, I'm done trying to manipulate and control this. I'm going to release this to you. Okay. And then last but not least, you have to build trust incrementally in the Lord. So these are small acts of rest before you actually feel ready to do so. All right. And then you have to use the Sabbath as training. And what do I mean by that? So I believe that if you do not honor the Sabbath, if you do not take off an entire day every week and you rest from your business and you spend time with God and you spend time with your family and you rest mentally from thinking about your business, then I don't really believe that you have learned what the Sabbath rest is supposed to be about. You guys, I not only rest on the Sabbath, but I also take a Sabbath sabbatical at the end of my workday every day. I used to constantly think about what I was going to do tomorrow and the next day and what we had to get done by the end of the month and our first quarter or second quarter projections, all of that. It was constantly going in my mind. Y'all, I don't do that no more, because all it did was create anxiety and survival mode in my body and in my thinking, okay? So if this resonated with you, I want you to do 3 things. I want you to get into the comment section and I want you to let me know which point hit you the hardest. Number 2, I want you to share this video with somebody that you know is operating from hustle and survival mode. And last but not least, I want you to try one day this week of trust-based building in your business instead of striving, okay? Now, you guys, I am creating more content on this, so I want to encourage you to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and give us some feedback in the comments of what are some things that you would like to hear Holy Spirit-led, biblical, faith-based teaching in the area of building kingdom businesses. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one.